Knows that e-commerce should be an important part of their business, but very few can actually get the boat out of the harbor. And even fewer can say that e-commerce sales account for a significant portion of their total revenue. On today's episode of The Takeover, I'll discuss 3 reasons why industrial distributors struggle to launch a successful online channel and what we can do about it. Hey guys, welcome back to The Takeover. Grateful that you could join us again, and I do apologize. It's been a little while since we've been recording, and I'm excited to get back into a regular cadence here. Looking forward to providing a lot of helpful insight and maybe some tips and strategies for industrial distributors this year. So, let's talk about this issue of failure to launch. I saw an article not that long ago about, I think it was entitled "Failure to Launch," as a matter of fact, and it was about this epidemic that is in our society today. It's epidemic of young men failing to launch into adulthood. So it's more than just Matthew McConaughey romantic comedy. If you've seen that movie, some people call it the Peter Pan syndrome, and it's this idea that young men are struggling to become productive, hardworking members of our society, and the disengagement and failure, whether that's from video games or social media, and there's lots of things that we like to blame it on, lack of father figures, etc. But whatever it is, we know this for sure. It is having a profound effect on the economy today and the future of our economy. And so a lot of socioeconomic people out there, wonder about the future of our economy here in the U.S. and even the future of the family. So it's kind of scary stuff when you think about it. This is really important, and it kind of goes unchecked, and we're not really doing much as a society right now to fix this issue. So, Matt, what does that have anything to do with industrial distribution? So the idea is that I see a lot of, there's a similar thing going on in industrial distribution where we're kind of pushing aside the issue of e-commerce and what technology means in our traditional distribution business. So it's kind of disturbing that so many distributors have procrastinated this long on this issue of e-commerce, and I'm concerned, that even those who have invested in an e-commerce website, for example, have woefully underperforming channels, and really. It's shocking compared to other B2B distribution businesses and industries out there. So the question, I guess, is why? Like, why the failure to launch? Why the lack of performance? And so that's what I want to cover today. And let's go over these weaknesses that we have. Let's go over and really look at what's plaguing us, and let's see if we have some good strategies to get around these things. Okay, so the first one is, I call it technology analysis paralysis. So we're frozen by the amount of options that are out there in terms of technology. Now, the good thing is that a lot of companies have developed really smart, helpful tools that we could use in our distribution business to help us do a better job, managing our supply chain, fulfilling orders, managing profitability, segmenting pricing, doing our marketing, doing our website. There's lots of great technology out there. The problem is in the e-commerce world in particular, I think we're sometimes overwhelmed by the amount of options that are available to us, and it can be very confusing to figure out what it is that we want to choose to spend our time looking into. Because, as every time you look at a software, you're going to have to talk to a salesperson. you're going to have to, do some sort of online demo, look at it, spend time investigating it, look at the reviews, talk to people who use it. There's a lot of things that go into, the sales process. So you're not just gonna haphazardly go into that sales process. You want to really narrow the focus as much as you can. So I like to think of it sort of like a recipe. If you go to the grocery store, for example, and you just kind of wander around and you think, well, this ingredient might go good with this ingredient, and maybe I can throw these things together, and that might be tasty, right? Oh, it might or it might not. It might be miserable to do it that way. And really, the thing you should do is to get a good recipe from a credible chef who has proven the recipe many, many times over. So the idea here is that you're going to look for somebody who has the entire recipe figured out. And by the way, grandma's biscuit recipe is just as valid as Chef Gordon Ramsay, right? So you need to consider what your peers are saying. Maybe they've created something that works really well, and they've done well with that, and maybe that's something that you can do. Other hand, maybe there is somebody in the industry who happens to do e-commerce websites for industrial distributors. Wink, wink. And maybe they could help you along the way. So I think that's the idea, is that you have to remember that not all the solutions out there are created equal. Other solutions, some solutions seem like they're a great deal because they're very inexpensive. I'm thinking of things like Shopify and that sort of thing. Like they're super, super cheap to get started. WooCommerce, another one. But later you'll discover that nothing's included with it. So yeah, it's $20 a month, but you've got to add all the content. You've got to do the design, the development all yourself. Hosting and maintenance, all of the bells and whistles that come with it are all little $9 here, $20 there. It adds up really quickly. So it may not be the best experience. It could become that money pit that I've seen from talking with other distributors. Other solutions have like everything out of the box, but then you realize that they cannot be customized, or maybe they lock you into a particular wholesale supplier. I'm not going to name names, but there are wholesale suppliers out there that literally own different portions of the entire supply chain. They're at the manufacturer level, they're at the wholesale distribution level. Oh, and they're on the ground as the direct distributor. So scary to maybe lock yourself into something like that. The other thing is that today's world is all about value proposition and specialization, and making sure that you communicate how you are unique from the big box solutions, the Grangers of the world, Fastenals. They do a little bit of everything, and you have to differentiate yourself in such a way. And so maybe having something that everybody else has is not the best solution. Okay, so that's the thing. The key here, guys, is to narrow your e-commerce options so that you can make it a manageable decision. Okay, that's what I'm gonna boil that first point down to. It has to be, you have to take those 50 different options, boil them down to maybe 2 or 3, and it's going to be a lot simpler process for you. And trust the peers that you respect. This is when being a part of a buying group is a great advantage, because you can get together with people that are doing something that's similar to you. Maybe they're a year ahead of you. Maybe they're 5 years ahead of you in terms of e-commerce, and they would be great people. They would be great people to talk to. Find out what they're doing. And finally, find a trustworthy advisor who understands your business so that they can help you navigate this decision. And I promise you'll be well on your way to launch. This is one of the hardest things, is figuring the technology. All right, so that is point number 1. Number 2 is we have to understand the difference between a project and a process. Okay, an e-commerce website is a process. It is not a one and done project, and this is where we get tripped up so much in the industrial distribution world. Let's this idea of perfectionism. Okay, so traditional distributors see an e-commerce website project sort of like a catalog, right? If you've ever created a catalog, or maybe you've done a flyer or an advertising campaign, there's a definite start and a definite end date. And the problem, of course, is that a successful e-commerce website is never finished. Even after you launch your website, the work is far from over. In fact, it could be argued that even the hardest part of building a profitable e-commerce channel comes after a successful launch. You'll want to train your team. You'll want to roll out the new website with your existing customers. You'll want to manage pricing on a regular basis, by the way, with all those tariffs and pricing changes coming from your vendors. I mean, this is something that's a full-time job. You'll need to manage the catalog. You'll need to run ongoing marketing campaigns to nurture existing customers and attract new ones. This is a never-ending process, not a project. Did I say that 3 times? Okay, good. We're not even done yet. So let me just give you an example. I've had customers launch their site and get on to the important work of building their channel in as little as, let's say, a couple months. On the other hand, distributors who are shackled by this perfectionism, feel the need to have 100% of the products they have ever sold online before they ever go live with their website. So this might mean collecting and building manufacturer content for thousands and thousands of SKUs, which would mean hundreds and hundreds of hours. Thousands and thousands of SKUs equals hundreds and hundreds of hours equals many more thousands and thousands of dollars. So my suggestion has always been to launch the website as quickly as possible with the absolute best sellers only. Okay? This way we can get to the growth strategies of onboarding your customers and develop a rhythm for adding products, pricing, and marketing campaigns. Okay, I talk about in our Industrial Marketing 101 masterclass, I talk about using the 80-20 rule and how to attack the elephant, which is product content. We can't eat it all at once. We do it bit by bit. And as long as we're consistent, we will win the race. It's sort of the tortoise and the hare thing. But if you have not checked out our e-commerce masterclass, it is free and open for everybody. So I invite you to go there. It's industrialmarketing101.com. And you just have to type in your name and email, and you'll get immediate access. It's a 10-part video series that will walk you through our systematic format for building, launching, and growing an e-commerce website. So go check that out. All right, so just remember that launching an e-commerce website is not at all like building a paper catalog. When you do a print catalog, which we still do a lot of, by the way, at SpinStack, everything has to be perfect before you go to print. After all, there's a definitive end date when the project goes to a printer. And once it hits the press, there's no turning back. You will be in the pocket quite a bit if you go back and need to reprint those babies before they're bound. So paper and ink is expensive today. So remember, that it's a big difference between doing that and an e-commerce site. I like to say the e-commerce site is like tending a garden, which is part of the reason why, if you look at the SpinStack logo, it's a flower. It's a flower. We do our products. We call them the bloom package and the growth package. Well, the idea was that marketing is much more like running a garden and yielding fruit than it is, building a building, for example. So we're not a construction company. We're kind of like gardeners. We're professional gardeners. An e-commerce website is just like that. It's a lot of work to plant a garden. If you do not water the garden and you do not pull weeds, you'll not be able to show much fruit for your labor. So you wouldn't be a foolish gardener and go out and do all the work of plowing the field, clearing it out, leveling it, doing the rows, planting the seeds, watering it, and then walking away and not tending to it, that would not yield a very good harvest. If you want to yield a harvest and return on the investment of your e-commerce website, you're going to want to go out there and be active in it and tend to it, and that is how you'll be successful. So that's point number 2. The third and final point is simply a lack of leadership. This is kind of scary. I mean, I actually thought about omitting this last point because it does sting so much, but I have to tell the truth. By far, the biggest reason why industrial distributors fail to launch and grow a successful channel is the lack of leadership and commitment at the very top. And I'm looking at you. Just as I would look in myself in the mirror, if my business is failing, if I'm struggling, and I cannot complete projects, I cannot get initiatives off the ground which are strategic, which I know are going to equate to future growth, I have to look at myself because the buck stops here. I can't go around blaming people that are underneath me, that I said, hey, go build a website, and then it's not successful because I walked away and I left it in their hands instead of really owning it from the very top. So let's say my team works with an owner of a typical small to medium-sized industrial distributor to build a personalized product catalog and a great-looking marketing site. Okay, it's not hypothetical. We do this literally every couple months. We're launching new websites for industrial distributors, and primarily small to medium-sized ones. So let's say we launch the website, the catalog, everything's looking great. Everyone's happy. We're high-fiving because for the first time ever, we have a amazing-looking website, and it's this great ordering tool for our customers, and we're pumped about what it's going to do for our business, and we're pumped about showing it to our website or to our customers. Let me give you 3 real-life parables, if you will, that can happen, and which have actually happened. So these are actually real-life stories, and of course, I've changed the names. These are not the names of my customers. And if you're listening to this and if you feel like this is you, don't be offended. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we can make it better. Okay, so let's go over these. Distributor owner number 1. Here's the failure of leadership in this example. This is the failure to delegate. So we'll call her Karen, and Karen is committed to making the e-commerce channel a success, but because she's not willing to hire or outsource a team to manage the website and digital marketing, she struggles to add this massive undertaking to her already full plate, which consists of virtually everything, overseeing accounting, purchasing, sales, marketing. It all falls under her, and this is one of her many initiatives. So despite her good intentions and her beautiful website, which we created, 6 months, 12 months go by before anything has happened. It's just sitting there. It's kind of like a really nice line card. She fails to roll it out to her customers because she's always putting out fires. And frankly, she's afraid that getting her customers online are just going to create another fire in her business. So she fails to run a consistent marketing campaign because she's just too busy dealing with her existing customers. This website is never going to produce the results she wants. And instead, like I said, it becomes a very expensive interactive line card. It literally is a list of products and manufacturers that she is selling to her customers, but it's not being used as it should. This is sad. She needs some help in a big way. So what should she have done? We're going to get to that in the third example. But yeah, this is very common. And frankly, I am very sympathetic for Karen in this example. I run a small business myself. I do a lot of things myself. I do the marketing myself. This is our marketing, this podcast and video. And I understand. I really do. But if it's something that is core, it's key, you have to be willing to invest the money to hire somebody or invest the money to pay somebody to own something that in your heart of hearts is going to mean the difference possibly between your success or your failure in the next, let's just say, 5 to 10 years. So she's failing to do it. She's kind of spent a lot of money and she hasn't got the return on the investment. If that is you, let's brainstorm ways we can fix that right away. Now, distributor number 2. This is the failure of a lack of accountability. All right, so Jack, we'll call him Jack. He is also committed. Again, remember, these are all owners. Jack's committed to making the e-commerce channel a success. From day one, he's been excited. He knows that this is all him, and he is pumped about going all in on the website. So much so that he is willing to go the extra mile and hire someone to help him run the website. Now, unlike Karen, he knows that this is way over his head. He doesn't understand marketing. He doesn't understand development, design, product content, e-commerce. It's way beyond him, and he's kind of intimidated by it, if he's honest. So what he does is he actually hires somebody. So congrats for that, Jack. You did a great job. You hired marketing manager Mindy, as I'll call her. Now, marketing manager Mindy is a youngish marketing professional. She knows a little bit about everything when it comes to marketing. She really likes doing social media more than anything because it allows her to waste more time on the job. So that's why you're struggling to get her to produce the results on the e-commerce website, unfortunately. Now, because Jack doesn't have the long view in mind, he never makes the website really a core strategic initiative. He follows the money, which I don't blame him either. I mean, he follows the money where it is today, and the website isn't making any. Okay, so he considers it sort of like a necessary evil. And this is something that he pays for so that he can appear more competitive when it comes to bidding his customers. He needs to hold Mindy accountable to the success of this channel by setting smart goals for traffic, leads, orders, and revenue. Until he does, the website will continue to underperform. When it comes to an e-commerce channel, and I've said this before in many other things, and I talk about it in Industrial Marketing 101, but it has to be like you're opening up another branch of your distribution business. Imagine if you open up a building with inventory and you put a couple people in it to run the counter and to run the warehouse. Imagine if you did all of that and you didn't have a manager. You spent all of that money and nobody is actually watching the branch. Nobody is making sure that the customer gets a great experience. Nobody is making sure that your purchasing is on point. Your margin and your pricing is on point. Nobody is making sure that the customer's actually getting what they need in the warehouse, and there's no processes. And all of this is just, it's like opening a lemonade stand. It's really unprofessional. And frankly, this is what we do with websites. And you've got to find somebody and hold them accountable. It's got to be part of your conversations all the time. All right. So I know it stings, guys. It stings. Distributor owner number 3. Okay. Now this is our third and final example, and we'll finish with this. This is the example of extreme ownership. I love this. So Jocko Willink, he's a Navy SEAL, and he wrote this really cool book. I don't know if you've heard it. It's called Extreme Ownership: How the U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win. And he's got a great podcast where he goes on for like 2 hours. I can't ever listen to the whole episode. But he's intense. He's an intense guy, as you would imagine. He makes me feel like a little weakling at times when I listen to him. But he is got a point about leadership. In the U.S. Navy, especially in the SEAL division, like, they do not play games when it comes to leadership. This is absolutely serious. So here's what he writes in his book, Extreme Ownership. On any team in any organization, all responsibility for success and failure rests with the leader. The leader must own everything in his or her world. There is no one else to blame. The leader must acknowledge mistakes and admit failures, take ownership of them, and develop a plan to win. The thing that stands out to me most about that particular passage is the very last part. Develop a plan to win. That's exactly what Greg did, and he is our third and final example. Greg hired the right marketing leader to delegate the website. Notice I said marketing leader, not marketing manager, not marketing manager Mindy. He hired a marketing leader, somebody who had leadership qualities. And it doesn't matter if this person is 30. In digital marketing today, it doesn't matter if you have 30 years experience and an MBA in marketing. What matters is, do you have what it takes inside to run a mission like this, of this caliber? And he empowered her, and this is what he called her. He called her his digital branch manager. And he empowered her with all the resources she needed to hit their well-defined SMART goals. He checks in with her on a weekly basis to review website analytics and marketing reports. On a quarterly basis, they meet with an industry expert who helps them review their online dashboard and define targets and goals for the next quarter. Do you know who that industry expert is? That's me. We get together on a quarterly basis and we talk about what's happening online. We talk about the big picture, and we create moving targets as we're heading towards ultimately the big goal, which is 30% of their total revenue. So Greg talks about the website. He talks about the website with his team constantly. He talks about it with his leadership team, which is literally just his wife and like 3 other people. And he talks about it with his suppliers. This is something that is at the forefront of his business. It's not on the back burner. This is something that is important. He's always making sure that he's got the supplier's latest products on his website. He's always making sure that his marketing leader is updating product content and updating pricing. He's out there, he's studying the trends, he's reading articles, he's listening to podcasts like this one. And he does not, at the end of the day, he does not tolerate a lack of results. And that is what sets him and their business apart. And by the way, 7 figures of revenue online. This distributor is killing it. And I have those other 2 distributors are yet to break into 5 figures online. They simply don't have the leadership. Either they don't, it's not that they're bad people, by the way. It's that they have not put the leadership structure in place. They don't have the team created to own the website, and they have not put the financial resources behind the website. I talked to, just kind of finish up with a quick story. I talked to several distributors lately who were, they were showing me, hey, Matt, I saw this website. I like this one. I like that one. What do you think about this website? And they showed me some of these websites. What they were showing me were online retailers. So in the industrial distribution world and whether it comes to power tools or safety equipment, it's common to find these online retailers. They're not a traditional distributor. They're not a B2B distributor. They're a B2C sort of distributor. B2C, B-ish is kind of what I would call them. There's no outside sales reps. Okay, they don't go face to face with any of their customers. Every interaction happens online through email. They have a large inside sales team or a customer support team. And aside from that, the rest of the distribution business works pretty much the same. Big warehouse. They certainly hold a lot more inventory in stock because they have to get things out next day. It's a different animal. And they asked me, what does it cost to do something like that? And I said to them, you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. And he pressed me and he said, no, I'm serious. I really do. I really am curious. And I happen to know this one online retailer, and I had spent time with him, and we had worked together in the past. And he didn't give me exact figures, but From what I could gather, they spent over $200,000 a year on their website alone. That was to design it, host it, maintain it with all of the bells and whistles. That's kind of everything. That's everything packed in, all their technology. That's everything. And then on top of that $200,000, they spent another $100,000 on advertising. Between advertising, PPC, social media advertising, and SEO. So they're writing articles, videos, putting on their website, email marketing. They're doing everything. They have to. That's their business. There is no sales if they do not generate traffic from the website, traffic in the website that converts into orders. So you have to decide what it is that how you're going to run your business. Now, am I suggesting that for most distributors? No, not even close. I don't think you don't even remotely need to go that far. But it does give you perspective, doesn't it, about what it takes to build a successful online channel. So the moral of the story is to be like Greg.